folks. You are watching and listening to a very special edition of Open Bar. I'm Mike Morales here in the San Gabriel Valley of Southern California, and that young man is...
My name is Emilio Romo. I'm right now in San Diego, California. And, well, Mike, thank you for having me on the show. And I can't wait to start talking about tequila.
Yeah, for those folks who are not aware, Emilio and your brother, correct?
My brother Santiago as well, yes.
Yeah, Santiago, and you're the youngest from what
I am the youngest.
We talked previously off camera. He is the brand owner and producer of Querido Tequila. And this is a brand new one on the market. Folks, welcome to 2022. We're recording this in 2021, and it just broke on the market just like last quarter, right? Last quarter of 2021. Yes. Exactly. And now, if the name Romo sounds familiar to you folks who are like old dogs like me, you remember that name is related to the family that used to make Herradura tequila. And Emilio, I want to ask you, first of all, why the hell did you come back into the business? Did you fit it, or, I mean, what possessed you? You know, why didn't you go into something else? Because you're young. This is not an easy business. So you tell me what happened.
Well, I guess I don't guess. I know, but since being in tequila, surrounded by tequila, growing up in the distillery and hearing it every day from my dad, from my family, from every person that was on the distillery, I heard it. It's just something you can't get out of your skin, right? Since very young, I remember my dad every time he would ask us to put a finger in the tequila and just try it and tell us what we think. And he never said there's no wrong answers, just tell me what you think. What do you don't like? What do you like? Is there a taste you don't like? Even if you don't know what it is, right? Just tell us what you think. I don't know. And then growing up and riding horses around the distillery, the hacienda, and
we're talking about San Jose del Refugio, right?
San Jose del Refugio, yes. The hacienda.
That is for those folks who have taken the tour of Herradura. That is the family hacienda. It is still in your family, correct? Brown Foreman didn't get any of that, right?
Yeah, no. They didn't get the good side. No, I'm kidding. We kept the hacienda. We call it La Casa Grande, right. And we kept the first distillery, Fábrica Uno, Fábrica Dos. Sorry, Spanish. My English, Spanish.
That's okay. That's all right.
All right. And we kept the land around as well, where we planted the agave, right? La piña. Right. So it's still in the family, and we're grateful for that.
Thank goodness, because it didn't used to be that way. I remember I was telling Emilio off camera about how I was involved in the very first Blue Agave tour. This was before tours were a thing like they are now. And we got a chance to actually see La Fortaleza. And I remember talking to Guillermo Sousa, when he said how disappointed he felt when his grandfather sold Sousa to Domecq. And at that time, I had met Sylvia, his mother. She was still alive. And to that day, she was livid. She was angry. You could see it in her eyes, that she was a very imposing lady. And she said, she says Domecq ruined the brand, and there were still those hard feelings. And when you sell off your name, it's tough, because you lose a part of yourself. And I'm so glad that your family didn't have that happen, that they didn't sell the history, and they didn't, because when I stepped foot on those grounds, and if you've ever been to the La Hacienda, it's like you were talking about my background back here. It's like being at the missions. because it's part of history. It's part of Spanish colonial history also, and the the distillery and the hacienda has a long history during the Cristeros War and all that stuff, and it's just you hate to have that go.
Yes.
I'm glad that you guys still have it.
I mean, we did keep that part, but it still hurt. I was very young when this happened. It still hurt because when we sold it off, when my father sold it off, and his brother, we still lost a part, right? We still lost a part that was created by the family, by my grandmother, trees and las huertas that my grandmother had. We still missed going horseback riding everywhere we wanted and going to the distilleries and smelling the agave and every time I would take a whole ball of agave just cooked and take it back and have it just for snacks everywhere. And you do miss it. And when we were told that it had been sold, I remember me and my brother crying, and we're like, "What was gonna happen?" And I guess everything happens for a reason. Right?
So this is really for you. It's like a full circle journey. Then that's why you're back in the game, kind of.
Yes. Right? Yes. I mean, let me tell you a little bit of the story, a little bit about Querido, no?
Yeah. Why the name? I mean,
Querido, dear, loved one. I mean, it's a word that I don't think we go a day without saying, right? Mexico, querido, for us is just everything. It's someone you want to share with, someone you just. It's a querido. It's it's dear, loved one, and that was a little bit of the reason.
Okay.
And let me go a little bit into the story why we did this tequila. We remember right in the hacienda in La Casa Grande there was where you have the horses, the
stables.
The stables.
Right.
There's a big warehouse right in front of them, right? And in there they put all these tequilas that they did that never went into the market. Some made it, never made it, never actually made it, or they just didn't work out, right?
Right.
And one of them, I remember, was Suave 35. It translates smooth 35, right? And
well, 35 is that's the ABV.
But the name of it was Suave 35. That was the name of the brand.
It's actually kind of a cool name, really.
Yeah, it is. I know. It's very stuck in my mind, and we remember when we were there, it had flavored tequilas. I remember they put on, it was mandarin and it was lime and it was all these citric kinds of flavors that me and my brother just never understood why they wouldn't go into the market. It was.
So you guys were, it's Herradura was always ahead of its time. That's what I keep telling people.
Yes.
Go ahead. Keep. I'm really intrigued by this story. So.
And we always had the little, we say piedrita en el zapato, that stone in our shoe. That never worked, right? So this was when we were young, and as we grew up, and we said, all right, now it's time that we have to bring back the legacy. We said, why not this? Why not this? I mean, in our family, it's always been about being innovators, right, and pioneers, and trying to stay in front of what's coming and trying to educate trying to keep up with the market because it moves quickly, right? And they're like, you know what? Let's do it. This time, I remember. I mean, I'm gonna talk about a little bit another brand. It was Smirnoff Tamarind when it came out, right? I don't know. And you're like, how can the flavors, people want something adventurous, want something different, want something new. We want to bring people back into the tequila, right? And that's where, like, all right, this is what we have to do. This is how we're gonna start, right? Tamarind, obviously, it's pulparindo, rayarindo, all the flavor on the left, or the other one.
Yeah,
all this. Yes, all these flavors that we had when we were young is just nostalgic, right? It's
Wow.
Every single can there was tamarind everywhere, and we love that.
And you had all these fruit trees like surrounding la Casa Grande, right? They were
We
everywhere.
do, yes, yes. It was a lot. Well, mostly of them was orange. In the Hacienda Las Huertas, it was orange, mandarin, a lot of guava, which
Right.
and upcoming, we have something coming in the works. Uh, and that was the reason for tamarind. It was just we wanted to be nostalgic about this tequila because the tequila and this flavors, these fruits just in my mind it blended, it just
Yeah, yeah.
worked. So we're like, okay, not vodka, we're tequila. Let's make the best tequila with fruit, and taste like fruit. So that was a reason for tamarind. Mango, you obviously know. I think mango is just mango.
Yeah.
It's.
Go.
I remember with a fork, we just put it in the mango, just eat it everywhere, and go around, and you're like, it works. And I remember trying it. I remember trying it, mango cut off, and then tequila, and I would drink it, and you would be snacking with a little bit of tajin.
Yeah, yeah.
That flavor together, we're like, okay, that works, and and we created. It took us a long time to perfect the flavors that we actually said, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And finally, the spicy watermelon. Spicy watermelon. Do you remember the popsicles called rebanaditas? It
I don't
was
think I don't think I ever had those, but
it's a popsicle that it's una paleta, which is the form of a watermelon, and it had chili on top of it, right?
oh
But
yeah, well,
chili
'cause you
was a little
gotta
bit
have the
more,
chili, right?
but it was acidic, not really spicy. It was more acidity, and with the sweet and the acidity is perfect, and that's the decision for spicy watermelon, right? And we obviously wanted to make it 100% agave, and we wanted
Right.
to create just the best combination possible in that category.
You know, I hearing you talk about these. Here's what I see. Okay, this was nostalgic for you and your brother, and you say you're the youngest. You're only like 23. I can't believe that you're barely legal, but then again, you grew up around it. But the other thing too is that this is like bringing back childhood memories for you guys. And we were talking off camera. Well, no, you even said on camera that the family has always been ahead of its time. I made mention, and I'm so flattered that you actually bought my Catador course book.
There
And
we
see,
go.
look at that. Yeah, my God, this guy's
Incredible.
in the business, and he's got my book. Okay, so you can get yours on Amazon. So, but the thing is, I made mention how Herradura was the first brand to age tequila in Jack Daniel's whiskey barrels in order to attract the whiskey public. So they needed to, and you guys, the Romo family and Herradura itself, has always been at the forefront of, like you said, staying in front of the public. Now, what's really big right now, and we tasted several infused tequilas, even infused agave spirits, where they're outside the denomination of origin, and they're done quite well, and others were just horrendous. But um, this is the time, and it's interesting that you're using this as kind of a gateway tequila for people of your generation and maybe a little bit older, or people who are in the cocktail industry, because cocktails, right?
Yep.
It's really interesting. You're young, but you're talking about like an old soul. You're bringing back old memories, and the only reason you brought these out is so that you could kind of share what you grew up with. It's neat. It's like sharing a part of the Herradura Romo family with the public. Okay, now it's not going to be for everybody. We have not had it. We have not tasted it yet. I'm really anxious to taste it. Look at the bubbles. I love bubbles, man. But I will ask you this question. and you can answer it. You know, I'm sure you're going to get this question if you haven't been on the market. Yeah, you know, you guys are probably going to do a lot of your own, you know, getting in front of the people and talking about it. I'm sure you know how this business works and you know how to do it. I mean, you probably watched your family members do it as well. Um, you are made at Nome 1605, which
Yes.
is, let me read this. I'm reading at the
Exactamente.
back of the, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm at the age where I got to use readers now because, yeah, it's Inulina, the company name is pronounced Inulina y Miel de Agave, Rancho Las Peñitas. Okay, so we know, those of us who are studying that are aware of this, that this distillery has a diffuser.
Mhm.
But what I will preface this and say is that another branch of the family, when Herradura was sold, a few years later, came out with their own brand called Huizache. And this was before we knew what a diffuser does and how it works. And Huizache was done really quite well. We actually have that review on Tequila Aficionado on our YouTube channel. If you want to watch it, go right ahead. But it was actually well done. How is your brand, how is Querido using the diffuser in its process?
Well, yeah, I mean, the diffuser we use it at just for la molienda, just to
Shredding.
extract the juices, right? We do not put acid and we don't do all this kind of stuff. We actually cook it in masonry furnace and horno de mampostería. That's a
Mampostería,
so
okay.
mampostería, and then that we just use it as a molienda, right?
Okay.
And that's how it was created. We don't do the whole process in how do you say in el difusor.
How old are your plants that you're using? I mean, are you and your brother going out and picking what it is? Are they hand selected or are you buying it on the open market? What
Well,
how
we have land. We have land. We have agave. We do parcelería sometimes. We choose them ourselves. You know the parcelería we an exact year. We are using here agaves. We are not using less than 5 years at all. It's
Okay.
from 5 years to 6 years we're using for this tequila. Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, so that's the background on this. I'm anxious to try it. Like, again, we have not had it. Normally, we try to have these interviews after we've tasted the juice, but I'm glad you're explaining it to me this way. Now, um, what what are the future plans for the brand? Are you going to expand the line? I know you said something about something coming up. Are you going to go into more traditional tequilas now? I mean, if this is your opening act, what are you going to do for an encore?
Yes, like I said, I mean, this was at the beginning. It was this little stone that we wanted to get out there, right? And we knew it was a time for if we were ever gonna do it, it was right now, right?
Okay.
We are working on our own distillery. We actually,
Okay.
Our father left behind the ex Hacienda Sausa, who he bought from Don Sausa. It's called Las Norias. It's in between Amatitán and Tequila.
Yes.
All right. We used to do Fior de Tequilas, Tierra Mojada, and Hacienda del Cristero, and a little bit some.
You used to make cristeros there?
Yeah,
Hacienda Cristeros was one of my favorites, and it's off the market now.
We can talk about that later. And maybe I can get something to you. And all right.
I love that tequila. I spent about 15 to 18 years in New Mexico. That's where I actually started getting involved in doing tequila shows because it had never been done before. And Hacienda de los Cristeros was one of my favorites because it was, again, innovative because those vodkas were just jumping into the market and going bananas. And you came out with this, Herradura came out with this beautiful bottle with the seed label. You can see through it, like a window, and it looked like a vodka bottle. Yeah, and I loved it. It was really good juice. And then just gone. How are you going to show it to me?
I thought I was gonna have it here, but no.
No, don't hurt me like that, man.
Yeah, I thought it was over here, but no.
Yeah, but so you're going to go. You're actually going to reboot.
So yeah, the it's actually already on the works. We are already working on making the new distillery. Like I said, this is a first. This is our first launch to the market, but our plan is to make the ex hacienda, well, the primera destilería, la fábrica antigua, we call it. We're gonna make the same exact replica at the hacienda of ex Sausa. We're gonna make Taona, 100% Taona. We're gonna have limited bottles, an amount quantity a year, and we're gonna bring back the first reposado ever created by my grandmother. We're gonna bring back. I don't know if you remember the first Jimador that came out. I don't know if you ever tried it.
Yeah, I did. And they had an añejo. They had
with the square bottle with the
metal plate.
Oof,
that was
okay.
Oh my God, that's a treasure bottle.
Yes,
find it.
Let me tell you, that is our añejo that we're trying.
Okay, I'm gonna go on record. You're going on record. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me a scoop, because nobody else knows about this. We're the first ones to.
Actually, I think I'm talking a little too much.
No, and we haven't had any booze. But first of all, I want to thank you for that information. But secondly, I want to raise my hand now, and I want to ask you: anytime you guys launch something, I want it for our open bar, and also for sipping off the cuff, because you guys are your family has always been on the cutting edge of history of tequila. So I want to, this new launch, this new reboot, this new relaunch of the old ways from new eyes, from young eyes, in a new generation. I want to be part of that. I want to see how you guys evolve and bring back what I grew, what I cut my teeth on. You know what I mean? Because that's what is making me happy right now. Is that, oh my God, I remember that bottle of El Jimador Añejo. Everybody wanted it.
It was an edición limitada.
Yes, and it had the metal plate on the front.
Yes.
And it was a different shape bottle. Whenever I took that to a party with friends in New Mexico, that was the first bottle that disappeared, man. It would be drained right away, and it was delicious. And to this day, it is a treasure bottle. I know collectors who, there's maybe one guy that I know who probably still has a few bottles, and he's in Las Vegas. And you,
No.
probably you. But I'm excited for you then. I'm excited for Querido. Are you going to keep the name? Is it going to be the whole Querido?
No,
line?
we have a different name for it.
Okay. Well, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
That one I'm not telling you yet.
Yeah, because you'll get a call from your lawyers or something.
Yes, and
Those lawyers
the plan is that to bring back the first reposado created, we call it petaquita, which is a small. Remember the small antiguo one?
Yes.
With the copper. We're bringing that as a reposado. As a blanco is going to be the first jimador that was created. Remember, that was the one that took over Herradura Distilleries in less than 3 months, because it was the best tequila there was before it changed, right? And yes, you touched it. The añejo is the edición limitada. Where we're going for it, and we're gonna
put a metal plate in front of it. Do that. You got to do that. I don't care. I'm sure your shape of your bottles could be completely different and all that, but that metal plate is the dead giveaway, in my opinion. That's what it. I don't know how cost effective that is now, because I'm sure it's more expensive to even bottle stuff.
And especially that we're not jumping any hoops. We're gonna do it how it was done. I think the tequila industry has gone, and I think it's time to bring it back and talk about what's inside the bottle, right? And that's a little bit why I like your tequila. I never believe that it was gonna be so detailed, and I really love that about
Well,
the book. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring back in every category again the legacy of the family. Yes.
that's a great story. I love it that you and your brother had this discovered all these flavored tequilas that never made on the market. But it makes sense to me because I lived, that whole, not all of it. I mean, obviously I'm not as old as the Cristeros were, but I mean I'm old, but not that old. But for the last 22 years, I've watched the industry change, and within that time, Herradura sold, and you know, but I've done so much reading, and there were people before me whose books I've read and whose articles I've read, and there's one that I still have it. I think it's the best background story of the family history of Herradura that I've ever read. And if you want a copy of that, you may have it. Let me know later on off camera. But I've read where the family has come from and where it went, and it always seemed like you guys, that family, this branch was always ahead of schedule, ahead of its time. And now that you're bringing it all back the way it was done, you're right. The industry has gone bananas. Okay, everybody's buying what The Rock is drinking, or or Pierce Brosnan or somebody like that, and they have a place in the industry. They are a gateway.
To me, I think it's, if they want to recognize the culture we have, it, they are welcome to, but do it our culture, our way. You're welcome to, like I say, you probably know more about tequila than I do, right? And
No,
and
no,
and I
you
think
had it younger. I did not. You grew up in the business, and I always have big respect for anybody who's grown up in the business and done what they've done or are going to do what they're going to do. I mean, if you can accomplish what Guillermo Sousa has, with his brand, more power to you, because that's what it takes. It takes the old family to bring it back full circle. Because you're right, it's gone bananas, it's gone crazy. But and this is it's still cutting edge, because flavored tequilas, we've had lots of them. In 2021 we tasted one that was so well done. It is a salted chocolate tequila.
I think I've heard of it. Black Bottle.
It's called Salt. Salt is
Yeah.
the name of the brand, but it's good, Emilio. It's really good. And you can see that video. We did that. I think it's right now. It's playing. I think it's currently on our playlist for 2021. And I was shocked how good it was, because I had a chocolate one years ago that was horrendous. So I know that the technology now is available to be able to do this, but still, you said it took you a long time to get this recipe right.
Yes, it did.
I hate to see all your rejects.
Yeah. I mean, I remember sitting down with my brother. We're like, okay, which one was the first bottle? Now I don't remember. It was all this sampling and trying and changing and documenting, and it was a journey. It's still a journey. And whoever says, it's easy, no, it's not. It's everyday work. It's just pushing and pushing and pushing every day to make it even every day better and better and better.
Well, where I was gonna ask you what is your plan to promote this brand on the market? Are you and your brother going to actually go out and shake hands and kiss babies or rub elbows? Because the reason I ask is because I remember, again, growing up watching the industry. Like I remember, and I'll bring up these old names that you might know. I use them as comparisons because I was around them at that time. I remember uh, I remember El Tesoro, when it first came into New Mexico. It was actually one of the first stops. They would go into New Mexico on purpose because historically, a lot of people aren't aware, but I make them aware. that New Mexico is the area of the first exportation of tequila into the United States before New Mexico was a state. So it was almost um, Carlos Camarena said to me that it was a tradition to start your ambassadorship, letting people know and going to meet the distributors and all that, starting in New Mexico. That was what it was for him. So are you going to be doing the same thing? Because nobody does it better than the brand owners. I've seen, now Carlos is, he's a legend, but it was hard work, as you said. He had to shake hands. He had to go meet people. He had to go talk to them, and he's still doing it. That part of the business
actually
change.
I was yesterday, barely made it. Lost my flight actually, and had to get another one just to make it back. But I was just in Las Vegas, and that's exactly what we're doing. And right now, it's a little bit more me. My brother's in the Mexico side. And yes, that's what we plan. We think if we're not in front, not giving our face to the brand, and actually and I think the face not because of who we are or whatever, but more of I'm here. I want to hear from you. I want to see what you think. And yes, our plan is to push it ourselves and work with the brands, every single brand we create.
Wow, that's old school. I mean, I guess that's what I was headed at, is that you guys are really doing it old school, and yet you're young, So it's kind of like it's a refreshing point of view for me, that has seen the industry grown in different separate directions, and to see it come back, that's refreshing to me, because we have movie stars and film actresses and people who are famous for no reason, with a brand, and they're going crazy. Do you do you do you for okay, since you're doing everything old school, you don't foresee you and your brother going crazy bananas, being everywhere, like I have a feeling that you're sensing that you're in it for the long haul, correct?
Yes, we plan this to be. I hope my kids can take charge of this in the future. We have no plan of making it and leaving. We felt that already once, and we're not letting it happen again. I think, like I said, we're continuing the legacy. Not continuing. We're bringing it back and continuing it, right? And that goes for. I mean, if I was for me, forever, But until one of my descendants says, "Okay, this is where we stop." So our plan is to go until we die.
Good. Congratulations. It's a tough business, but you know that already.
Yeah.
What do you want to come across? What do you want to say to the public when you meet them? I don't know if you've had a chance to actually do just tastings, in a bar or a restaurant. What do you? First of all, what kind of challenges do you foresee, or have you come across that you've overcome when you get this past people's lips? What are you getting out there? What are they telling you? What your feedback is that you're asking for?
Okay. To bring it back a little bit, it started in Mexico. It started with weddings, right? Our weddings are very small, 600 people, 500 people, very small weddings. And the first expression was Tamarind, as I said, and they loved it. They loved it. They loved it. They loved it. And then when we actually pushed it out, we started in Vegas, and now we're launching in Hawaii. And people, the hard part is getting to understand that it is tequila. It is a tequila, because you see flavor, you see, all right, what is this? How do I do this? This is a mixology. That's the hard part of it, right? Getting people to try it, taste it, and understand what's going on, right? It's okay. It is a tequila, and it is, well, yes, that part. I think getting them to taste it first, and then I can't split myself into 100 and actually get a lot of people on a room with me and explain to them each flavor and why. But that's the hard part. Yes.
But you will. You'll get to that point where you'll have a room full of people. What I loved in your description, and again, I'm anxious to try these, but we don't do that. That's why it's called sipping off the cuff, because we literally break the seal on camera sometimes, and that's when we taste it. But what I loved was your description is that these are pairings. These are natural pairings to Blanco tequila, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a beautiful way of describing it. It's not an infusion. It's not something crazy. These were recipes that reminded you of natural pairings. When people pair their Blanco with an orange, or their mezcal with an orange and with cinnamon or whatever. These are even I would say that the description would be a cut above. They're the natural pairings of tequila with these fruits, and I would imagine these are natural fruit flavors,
Yes.
obviously. So it's almost like having a cocktail or a pairing in a bottle. You know what I mean? It's almost like it takes the
that was a little part of it. It was, how do you blend agave with something, right? And because it's not a flavored tequila, right? Like you were saying, it's
right.
It's one thing. It's one thing itself. The tequila and the fruit gives it that taste together. That was the hard part, blending it together and making it one. And that was, like I was saying, the big year of trying and doing all these experiments, right?
Wow. Yeah, I'd imagine your palate's pretty good, considering what you grew up with. Here's the question I was going to ask you: are you going to do a Blanco Suave? You're going to hurt me, aren't you?
Yes.
Well, yeah, that. That. I mean,
the Blanco Suave.
Again, the Blanco Suave was an original idea.
Yep.
That for those of you who don't know or aren't aware, the distillery is somewhere. I want to say it's Amatitan.
The center of Amatitan. Yes.
Yes. Now Amatitan, for me and one of our other tasters, the guy who lives in San Diego, Rick, we love tequilas from Amatitan. We love the minerality. We know that
tequila in the world was invented in Amatitan.
Yeah, well, there's still a controversy about that, but I believe you because I believe it.
No, it is.
but the flavors in tequila from what they consider the lowlands, El Valle, is different from what I taste near Amatitan, which is completely different from what I get in the highlands, from the Golden Triangle up there. And I love tequilas from Amatitan. So when I first started drinking really good tequila years ago, when I was still living in New Mexico, Herradura Blanco Suave was the only one I could afford at the time. And I read that the tequila was aged in barrels just enough time.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And it just to round out the edges. And after I've had, now years later, now that I've had more and more tequilas from Amatitan, I know what you mean. I know what they mean by rounding out the edges, because the technology that they have now they infuse it with the oxygenation, and they do all kinds of things to because a lot of people, I guess, the flavor don't appreciate the flavor that Amatitan agave from Amatitan has. So
yes.
My question is, are you gonna do a Blanco Suave eventually?
For Querido, no. For Querido, no.
Right.
That's for the future plans.
Future plans. Okay.
Querido, the brand itself, it's completely innovation. It's just innovating, and like I said, staying in front, right? That's the plan for Querido. And like you were saying, even RTDs and cocktail, all that kind of stuff. I don't know, New Mix, it was the first one.
Yes, you,
Mexico controls almost 85% of the market right now.
yeah.
So, and it was a creation as well from Jimador. And the Paloma, the Charro Negro, El Vampirito, all that kind of stuff. And that's what Querido is for us. Querido is our innovation branch, right? Our innovation arm.
I gotta say, I'm so glad that we had this conversation because I love that this branch of the family. I may, watching the watching the industry go in weird, crazy directions, and knowing what I know about the family only superficially, but I do know that you guys have always been at the forefront of new innovations, and to see that coming full circle with guys like you and your brother, I can't. I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited to see where Querido and the rest of the portfolio goes, because if you're anywhere as close as what Herradura did, and I imagine you probably that would be the bar, that would be the goal, for you guys, because that's what you grew up with. Then I don't see where you can fail, and I mean, wow, you guys, that says a lot for me. That speaks volumes to me, and only because I'm a little bit older and I have seen the industry, age like us.
Mhm.
But it's interesting. You're going to be introducing a whole couple, two, three generations who have never heard of you guys.
Yes,
And
yes.
maybe they were born when Brown Forman bought Herradura, and so they only know Brown Forman. You know, they're going to be you're going to be talking to people. It's a clean slate. I mean, it's almost like starting over.
Mhm.
So do you see that as a challenge for you? I mean,
No. Uh, why not? I think they just because they don't know the story doesn't mean they don't want to learn, right? And I think um, when you feel part of something that used to be, but you never saw, but you feel it and you hear it from little different places, I think that that gives us a bigger punch, right? Because we're gonna be telling a story that wasn't told, not even by Herradura, you know.
yeah.
It's a story told. It's just a sincere story of our lives, and people, I think that's what they want. They want authenticity, and that's what we can give them, and that's what we can, and we can never deviate from that because that's what we want with our products and with everything we do, authenticity and going back to our roots. And I think for us, that's what we're gonna give. Happens what happens, our transparency and our traditions to the world and palettes. There are a lot of palettes, and we just hope people like what we do.
That's amazing. That's so cool. This is like the second. It's like the second coming of the Herradura legacy. Without saying Herradura. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, is there what is it? If there's one message that you want to tell the public that you want to get across, what do you want to? This is your chance to get up on the soapbox and say, "Look, if nothing else,
Um, okay. Uh, I think what I would like to say, like to whoever's listening, I don't know a lot of people. uh, um, I, I think like you say, I love in your book. It's you have to everything you have to study, you have to learn it, you have to have passion for it, and if you want to get it, and if you really want to understand the business, I like how you have to start. It's like a whiskey. You have to understand it, and to understand it. To me, for example, soft tequilas. To me, that's not a tequila. I need character. I need strength. I need I need there to be error. I need there to be because that's what gives tequila character, human error and human flaws and different these kinks and soft and this, sorry, I just
Go on, keep going. I love it.
and my message, if I could pass something on, is just try and go into depth. If you're gonna drink a tequila, try to go into depth. It is a very interesting and has so much culture and so much. It says so much tradition, so much beautiful stories behind it in every single tequila, and hard work and that there's so much hard work behind every single tequila before you take it as a shot that you I just encourage you to get in it to really understand what you're drinking and well, yes, so that's a little bit of what I want to say.
That's cool. That's see, they need to hear it from somebody like you, who's obviously a younger generation. But you're not saying anything different than Guillermo Salza or Carlos Camarena or Felipe Camarena. They're those guys are tequileros for years, and they're saying the same thing. Don't shoot my tequila. And there are more and more of us in the public now. More and more consumers are becoming aware.
I think that's something else. I think people are starting to understand, and they're starting to get up. They're starting to say, "All right, wait, what's going on?" And I think it's a circle, right? And I think we're starting to come down, and they that's what I was saying. They want to listen for authenticity and tradition and culture, and I think every tequilero in any way that's what they're trying to give, right? And appreciating that behind.
Now, are you? Which one of you is distilling? Who's in charge of the distillation, or do you have somebody that's doing that for you? Or
We actually have our master distiller that was with our dad. Um, yes. So I don't know what you're looking at.
what's his name? Is it on the bottle? It's
It is
not.
not. No, it's not in the bottle. No, he right now because we're doing with Agave. He looks over the process, obviously before. I mean, we're getting our own distilleries, but his name is Sebastián Melendez, and he worked creating the Jimador and the Extra Añejo Supremo. So
Uh,
we have a very good catador with us, a very good master distiller with us, which he doesn't like to be called. He likes to be soy un ingeniero químico. That's what he
hey,
says.
ingeniero químico.
And
Yeah.
he said, "Don't call me maestro
Maestro
tequila." He
tequilero.
doesn't like that.
He's ingeniero. And well, I mean, every time I see Carlos, and it's over every few years we run into each other, I always call him ingeniero. And he says,
Yeah,
no,
yes.
no. He says, you call me Carlos. So, yeah, that's wow. So you went old school all the way. I love that. I love that
Yes.
you rebooted everything. I mean, everything is being now. When is the plan for the rollout for the rest of your line? Do you even have a timeline for that, or are you just going to
Well,
concentrate?
we are building the distillery as we talk. So we will come out in, let's say, a year. You're gonna have news about this.
I please let me know. Keep me in the loop, because I want
Yes,
to be
of course.
the
Yes.
first to taste the new stuff that comes through, and I can't wait to get into to get into these, because again, we're seeing a lot of tequilas, either made with natural fruits or fruit flavors, or they're infused. Some are done really well, like I mentioned to you. I
Mhm.
think on camera we've had some that were. I've had it with chipotle and jalapeno. One that I've had with reposado, and it had serrano peppers
Serrano. Yes.
really well. You know,
Oh, that's good.
yeah, because like you said,
Yes.
but you could really easily mess it up too. I can only imagine how tough it is to do with peppers, and then with this to get it. But they're the natural pairings that you guys kind of grew up with. They bring back memories. I love that you are making tequilas that bring back memories that you've had, and maybe new consumers will be able to say these bring back memories. When I remember when I first, you know what I mean, to create new memories.
I think consumers are right now are very adventurous. They want something new. They want something to get their out of their. There's a saying for queridos is get out of the ordinary, right?
Yeah.
So an escape from the ordinary. So it's trying to get into the more adventurous people out there, which we are a lot.
Yeah.
So
Now, before we sign off, I want to ask you, you have a program with Querido. It's a sustainability program.
yes, we
Ex-
do.
Explain to me
We
how.
have 100% recycled glass. We're trying to work on from here to 2023. We're trying to make the whole bottle 100% recycled. We are doing we're doing for every bottle you buy, we plant a tree as well. Uh, yeah, that's another another big story. Why, right? I could tell you a lot of stories about my grandmother, and there's this even ghost stories about her that if the people would cut down a tree or anything in the hacienda, she would appear, and it's just
Well,
I mean,
for those of
there's a
you
lot of stories behind
for
the
those of
reason
you who
why.
have been to the hacienda, you got one of the oldest trees there, right? And
Yes,
it's
we do.
still alive.
Yes.
So I imagine that tree is very special to the family and to you guys. So see again, it makes sense to me that you would want to plant a tree.
Yep.
And let me again, I'm using a lot of comparisons with some of the old school tequileros that I knew and I've got to meet throughout
Mhm.
my life. I remember when Guillermo Sasa walked us through La Fortaleza, and he said to me he was always bringing back his grandfather. And he would say this was just on a walk. I mean, nothing was guided. He was guiding the tour, right? We're all just walking behind him. And he says to me, he says, my grandfather said that you should plant trees and plant, especially trees because trees will always be here long after you're gone. And is it similar
Mhm.
to for you guys?
Yes.
This is even the plants around surrounding the distillery are legacy. You know what I mean? They're part of the
Uh,
story.
it's funny you say actually in both the haciendas in Herradura and in the new one we're doing. In the new one, we have two trees that are almost 200 years old, and the 180, and then one's at 260 and 300. So for us, that's a very important part, right? Making sure we leave something better. You know, that's a little bit why we decided to go with this with Querido. I mean, we could have done a lot of things. We could have donated clean water, but for us, this was more personal. This was more about our grandmother and how can we bring back a little bit of her memory. I think in the industry of tequileros, it used to be a very man controlled, and no one knew that actually one of the pioneers in that almost created everything was Doña Gabriela de la Peña Rosales, our grandmother, and for us it's important to bring back her memory. So this is a way of doing it.
Wow. Well, I have. I'm glad you mentioned that the women in tequila because we actually do have a book that one of my first trips to Mexico to tequila and then came back. I met Ana Valenzuela and I was intrigued that she couldn't be the only woman involved in the study of agave or in tequila. So I started going, reverse engineering the whole thing, and it turned out years later when we uh, acquired a working partner that she said to us, "Why don't you take all those interviews and put them in a book?" And son of a gun, that book was my first one called "Babes to Boss Ladies," the women in tequila. Yeah. And it was the same questions to a lot of the women who are now brand owners and how they, and we've expanded now. I mean, you will be in one of our future books as well.
Thank
You're
you.
going to be in our Who's Who in Agave Spirits book because your story needs to be told and not just in video, but also in a format you can hold, whether it's electronic or really literally a volume. And I just it's I wish I could interview your grandmother, because
To me
she
too. Me too. I wish I could hear from her directly. And you know, and even my dad. I mean, it's so. I mean, don't we all? I think
Yeah, yeah,
it would. I think it would change the way we see the industry if we could hear her words and what she says about it. You know.
yeah, I know. I can only imagine what she would say about some of the stuff that's out there now. Oh my gosh, you know what they say, turning over in her grave? That's probably, yeah.
Probably
She
yes.
would be appearing to everybody at this point, you know. That's
Exactly.
amazing. Those are great stories. I'm so glad, Emilio, you came onto Open Bar with us and to share some of those memories and to share some of your secret, super secret plans, maybe just a little bit. Um, and you know, let's do this again. You know,
Yes.
maybe when when you decide to roll out what's next, what's coming up next, you know, a year from now, whatever. But this was so much fun. I can't wait to get into these. And we'll, you know, you folks will see this in somewhere probably first quarter of 2021, 2022, excuse me.
So, yes.
We are in the last quarter of 2021 right now. The last few days. But I thank you, man, for taking the time. I hope I didn't talk your ear off, but for spending time with us on Open Bar. Congratulations to you, your brother, and the family. I think, gosh, I'm so glad that you know, I miss that legacy, that story of Herradura, and that you're bringing back a little portion of that. You know, that speaks volumes to me. So I'm indebted to you for spending time with us. I know we probably went over a little bit over an hour, but again, congratulations to you guys. And as soon as we do taste this, I will let you guys know for sure.
And for me, thank you very much for having us. I mean, it is always good to talk to someone about tequila with passion and that dedication. Like I said, I am incredibly impressed with your book.
Thank
I
you.
just I have never heard someone go into so much depth into something, and I talk a lot about this, right? Normally I can't stop talking about tequila, but people probably don't like me because of that, right? But
that way, yeah, there's a lot of people who don't want to hear what I have to say, but you know, I say it
but
anyway.
yeah, I am honored to be here.
Thank you, and we're honored to have you here on Open Bar, folks. You've been watching and listening to a special edition of Open Bar here on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our channels and networks. Don't forget to subscribe. If you love this interview, give us a like. It helps us with the algorithm. And if you have stories about Herradura and what you imagined, write those down in the comments as well. And Emilio, they can find. Where can they find Querido? If they want to try this, where exactly is a good place?
Right now we're just starting. We just launched. We're in Vegas. Our website is soon printing out the locator, so you're gonna be able to find it in Las Vegas. And we're about to launch in January, just Hawaii. So we're going slow, we're going steady, and we're making sure we're doing things right.
Wow. Congratulations. That's that, folks. This could be the savior of the industry right here. But I appreciate you spending time and giving us those secrets, folks. Thanks for watching on Open Bar. I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. That young man is
Emilio Romo. Thank you.
His brand, look it up, folks. This could be the next greatest thing. It's called Querido. And this is just the beginning. Oh, by the way, what is this? This is a brand, isn't it?
QT.
QT. Oh, okay. And
Tequila.
This stands for what? Just get it. This is the
Querido Tequila.
Oh, okay.
Tequila.
No, but it looks like a brand, you know, that you see on.
Oh, well, you mean for animals and for like
yes.
that kind of stuff? Well, we don't use it for that. But yeah, that's our seal for Querido.
That's beautiful.
And right under it is 100% recycled. You see it.
Yeah, it's right there. So get Querido, and if you've had it already, folks, tell us what you think. Emilio, otra vez, muchas gracias. Mil gracias por estar aquí conmigo. Thanks for being here. And whatever you folks do, tomar sabiamente.